In basketball and in sports, you're used to having immediate gratification. Right? You come to a game, you play that night, you either win or you lose.
Right.
Right? And there's not so much of the patient game that takes place on the surface. Right? But the way I approach it is, I'm used to having this patient approach because when you start training camp, you're building the tools necessary to win a championship. So you have to have the patience. You have to strategically build out this structure of your offense, this structure of your defense for the first month of the season, then move on to the second phase and the third phase. And you patiently build it up. So, the way I'm approaching the second phase of my life is part of the process of succeeding. I'm not one that really believe in failure. I believe you have setbacks. And, you have to learn from those. You have to learn what are those landmines that can be avoided the next time. What are those pitfalls? And you have to learn from that stuff. The most beautiful part about any craft is starting at the beginning. That is the most purest form of artistry because you have to learn the building blocks, every little step, all the fundamentals. I mean, that's the most beautiful part to me. The championships are a byproduct of things, drills and exercises that I did when I was 6 years old. Focus. Don't, you gotta go with things that you understand. Businesses that you know, things that you can really get your arm around, and not speak on things that you know nothing about. I wanted to win.
Yeah.
It's like my approach of doing it is not working. So what can I do differently? And then from there, I started working backwards and saying, okay, how am I communicating with Pau Gasol? How am I communicating with Lamar Odom? What could I change? What are they going through? What are they feeling? When we lost in the finals to the Celtics in 2008, that was a turning point. So when I sat there in the hotel room afterwards, I started thinking about that. Because it's on me. If I didn't feel like my teammates were aggressive enough, that falls on me. And I had to understand what their journey was. How are they feeling as people? What are they going through? When you do that, you have that empathy. It also helps you to be a better leader. There's a quote from one of my English teachers at Little Marion named Mr. Fisk. He had a great quote that said, rest at the end, not in the middle. And that's something I always live by. I'm not going to rest, I'm going to keep on pushing now. There are a lot of answers that I don't have, even questions that I don't have. But I'm just going to keep going. I'm just going to keep going, and I'll figure these things out as we go. Right? And you just continue to build that way. So I try to live by that all the time. I had a purpose. I wanted to be one of the best basketball players to ever play. And anything else that was outside of that lane, I didn't have time for.
At what age did that goal become just
I made that deal with myself at 13 years old.
At 13 years old?
13 years old. That's the deal I made.
And where did inspiration come from?
The love of the game. The love of the game. The challenge. Like, I would watch Magic play. I'd watch Michael play. And I would see them do these unbelievable things. And I'd say, can I get to that level? I don't know, but let's find out. Let's find out. I had a summer where I played basketball when I was like 10 or 11 years old. And here I come playing, and I don't score 1 point the entire summer. I remember crying about it, being upset about it. And my father just gave me a hug and said, listen, whether you score 0 or score 60, I'm going to love you no matter what.
Wow.
Now that is the most important thing that you can say to a child. Because from there, I was like, okay, that gives me all the confidence in the world to fail. But to hell with that, I'm scoring 60. From there, I just went to work. I stayed with it. I kept practicing. I think that's when the idea of understanding the long-term view became important. Because I wasn't going to catch these kids in a week. I wasn't going to catch them in a year, right? So that's when I sat down and said, okay, this is going to take some thought. All right, what do I want to work on first? All right, shooting. All right, let's knock this out. Let's focus on this. Half a year, 6 months, do nothing but shoot. When I came back the next summer, I was a little bit better. I scored. Yeah, it wasn't much, but I scored. 12, 13. And then 14 came around, back half of 13, 14 years old, and then I was just killing everyone. What I had to do was work on the basics and the fundamentals. But they relied on their athleticism and their natural ability. And because I stick to the fundamentals, it just caught up to me. Because it means you have different ways to get better. There's certain things that you can figure out that you can take advantage of.